This conference will now be recorded.
ॐ यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वम् यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै ब्रह्मदेवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशम् मोक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। ॐ नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या सम्प्रदायकर्तृभ्यो वंशिषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। सर्वोपप्लवैः प्रज्ञानघनः प्रत्यगर्थो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि। वेदान्तार्थविभासकाय गुरवे शान्ताय सन्न्यासिने नानावादेन वेन्द्रसन्भवये योगीन्द्रवन्द्याय च मोहध्वान्तदिवाकराय भगवत्पादाभिधाम्यते तस्मै भाष्यकृते नमोऽस्तु सततम् पूर्णाय बोधात्मने। मंगलाचरणं मुक्तिबोध। यस्य निश्वसितं वेद यो वेदेभ्योऽखिलं च निर्ममेतमहं वन्दे विद्यातीर्थमहेश्वरम्। If something has to be known, all that the person requires is the appropriate means to know, the will to know, and the ability to know. Wherever there is a combination of these three factors, the knowledge is bound to happen. A person may be intelligent, but if that person refuses to understand, or if he doesn't want to understand, doesn't want to know, one cannot help it. If the person is intelligent and also has got the will that I want to know, but that person does not have the right means of knowing, then in that case, the person still will not be able to know. For example, a person who lacks the ability of vision, of seeing, who is blind, the visual faculty is damaged, and therefore he does not have the pramana. The person has a will. The person may even want to know. He has got mind which is sharp, he has brain which is active, and yet the person will not be able to know because the faculty through which, is there any problem? No. Which is okay. If there is a faculty, if the person lacks the faculty, it's okay. Whatever you people need to do, just do it once. and then finish. Still knowledge does not become possible. So all that is required to know in order for knowledge to take place is the right instrument of knowing, the capacity to know, and the will to know. Just these three things are required. So also if you are saying that by knowing Atma is Brahman, liberation is achieved, then for this knowledge also, all that we require is the pramana, the capacity, and then finally the will, and the knowledge should take place. Then when these conditions are fulfilled and knowledge can take place, then why do we find that there is an insistence on the institution of sannyas? Why is it made a mandatory prerequisite that sannyasa purvakam jnanam, that the knowledge, in order to pursue the knowledge, one should take to the life of sannyasa? Why renunciation has been made so important in this entire scheme? Why that sannyasa may be a part of some social structure, but when it comes to the knowledge and knowledge of anything, whether it is knowing Atma or whether it is knowing chemistry, physics, biology, it is after all knowledge. And in both the cases, all that a person may require and should require is the right means, capacity, and the will. Then what is the place of this sannyas? That we are discussing sannyas in such great length and details. Why is there this? Or is it some sort of Shankaracharya's insistence that he wants to make sannyas as as mandatory? Is it some whim, some fancy, just in order to create a cult, a sect, a following, a social identity? Is it for that reason that we? So first of all, let us understand that whatever that Shankaracharya says is not at all his opinion. That does not happen to be his opinion. If we have to credit Shankaracharya Bhagavan for anything, then we should credit him for being a transparent agent of reflecting what the Shruti has to say, what the Upanishad has to say. Swachha, clean, transparent medium of what the Shruti is saying. And here, therefore, we find that the Brihadaranyaka Shruti, etc., is talking about sannyasa is required. This is what we saw yesterday, that wherever it was said, where is that? We saw that yesterday. किमर्था वयं यक्ष्यामहे किं प्रजया करिष्यामो येषां नोऽयम् आत्मायं लोकः. And then it was said that prabrajanti, desiring to attain this Atmaloka, desiring to experience Atma as Brahman, people take to renunciation. So we find that renunciation is not a brainwave of Shankaracharya. We have to give it a complete credit of this only to the Upanishad, to the Shruti. But why is it made why is it so important? For which we have to understand that there are two things: desiring anatma vastu and desiring atma vastu. Vastu means reality. That person may be desiring something that is anatma, or he may desire the atma, because there are only two things. We cannot find any third category other than this. We cannot find any third category other than this. Desiring anatma means the person will be desiring either progeny, power, position, recognition in this world, or desiring either the Pitriloka or the Devaloka, some celestial world, and the pleasures of those worlds. So, Putra, Vitta, and Loka. So we find that there are these three things which are desired, wanted by people. Progeny, Vitta means wealth, and this wealth could be in several forms, whether it is your property, whether it is your recognition, it is your connections, power, position, everything will fall under wealth. So, Putra, Vitta, and Loka. These are the three things. Now, Loka means Paraloka, celestial, some heavenly world is desired. So, these are the three things which are the anatma desired by a person. But when a person desires to know the self, or wants only to know that Atma is Brahman, is because now he sees basically that all this Putra, Vitta, and Loka is not wanted by me, is not wanted by me. I do not desire it. And when one does not desire it, then naturally, even the means through which Putra, Vitta, and Loka is attained, which is karma, it is only through karma that Putra, Vitta, and Loka is attained. Then that phalam, there is no desire for the phalam, and therefore there is no need even to maintain the means through which all these three things can be attained. Anatma can be attained. He doesn't, and therefore there is karma is also given. Then what do you want, sir? I simply want to know Atma is Brahman. and therefore the person gives himself completely only to the pursuit of knowledge. And this is the purpose of sannyas, to give oneself completely to the pursuit of knowledge. Which knowledge? Knowledge of Atma is Brahman, not wanting to know Atma. This is what is indicated by Bhagavan Bhashakara in that sadhana panchakam. Atmecha vyavasiyatam nichagrihat turnam vinirgamyatam. Desiring Atma pravrajanti, it goes away. And that's why we have a very important thing about renunciation. But sir, is it not possible that by staying as a grihastha only we can pursue this path of liberation? Of course, you can pursue this path of knowledge, the path of liberation, even as a householder. But there will come a stage where one will have to say that how long am I going to keep myself in this drama? And that is going to be the topic a little further down, which is called as Vidvat Sannyasa. But before we go to Vidvat Sannyasa, about the Vividisha Sannyasa, sannyasa which is taken in order to pursue knowledge with a desire to know Atma, is called as Vividisha Sannyasa. Now, there is something more which is to be seen over here. I will read, you can follow, and I'll explain it then. Iha Janmani, page number 8. Iha Janmani, Janmantareva, Samyak Anushthitaihi, Vedanuvachanadihi, Utpannaya, Vividishaya, Sampaditatva, Ayam Vividisha Sannyasa, Iti Abhidhiyate. Okay. But though we are saying that it is the desire to know Atma, and this desire to know is called as Vividisha. Desire to know is called as Vividisha. Desire to know Atma. And that's why this particular desire, which is responsible for that sannyasa, is responsible for sannyasa. And therefore that sannyasa is called as Vividisha sannyasa. But sir, from where does this desire to know Atma also come? Because this desire cannot be induced. It has to be something, it has to have an intrinsic force. Otherwise, I want to take sannyas because I want to know Atma, and after some days, then the person finds that his resolution is so weak, and then he wants to turn back and go away. So, what is it that gives the strength to this desire? Wanting to know Atma, for which one takes to sannyas. So now this part is explained over here. What is the true fuel for this desire? इह जन्मनि जन्मांतरेव सम्यक अनुष्ठितैः वेदानुवचनादिभिः उत्पन्नया विविधिषया. He says, whether it is in this life or in some previous lives, unless and until a person has strived, lived a life of karma yoga, it will not happen. Unless and until a person has really lived the life Vedanuvachanena, through reciting the Vedas, through doing the various rituals, living a very pious, righteous life, तमेतं वेदानुवचनेन ब्राह्मणाः विविशन्ति यज्ञेन दानेन तपसा अनाशकेन. There is Brihadaranyaka Shruti. It says, Tametam Vedanuvacanena Brahmanaha Vividishanti. Now these Brahmanas, in order to know, wanting to know this Atma, Vividishanti. They desire to know the Atma. But how do they desire? Because of what? What is it that has really prompted and given the strength to this desire? It says, Vedanuvachanena. Vedanuvachana means recitation of the Vedas. If you remember the Sadhana Panchakam, it was said, Vedo nityamadhiyatam taduditam karmasvanushtiyatam tene shasya vidhiyatam apachiti kamye madhyasthyajatam papaughah paribhuyatam bhavasukhe doshonusandhiyatam Atmecha vyavasiyatam nijagrihat turnam vinirgamyatam. So over there also, Bhagavan Bhashyakara, Shankaracharya, has reflected this same principle in his own words. Citation. Don't pay attention, it's okay. Now what? Otherwise, you just turn it to me or something. Because it becomes. Huh? Vedanuvachanena brahmanaha vividishanti. By doing the regular recitation daily. Why should a Brahmin do this? This is a Brahmin, that person who has learned the Veda, he has to do it not for any other gains, just as his regular duty. Nitya karma, he should do it. Vedanuvachanena brahmanaha, then yajnena, by living these very, the following the various rituals of Vedic lifestyle, a righteous living, Danena, by giving away, things in charity, whether it is money, clothes, food, etc. Danena, tapasa, even when a person undertakes certain austerities, penance to be lived, tapasa, anashakena, even through fasting, etc. This is how the person has prepared himself. This is how the person has prepared. So, the preparation, whether happens in this life or the preparation has already taken place in the previous life. But without the necessary preparation, the desire is strong enough, and therefore this Vividisha comes through this particular preparation. And hence, living a life of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means by doing one's own duty, considering this duty as the worship of Ishvara. By doing this, by living like this, is the only way one will be able to prepare. There is no other way. Tametam Vedanuvachanena Brahmana Vividishanti Yajnena Danena Tapasa Anashakena. So Achyutara Modak has a nice comment over here, and he says, Atra Vedanuvachanam Brahmacharya Yajno Danam cha Garhasthe Tapo Anashakam cha Vanaprasthe iti ashrama vibhago bhijniya. Now, this preparation happens through all the stages of life. Is it working or not? Yes. This particular preparation happens through all the stages of life. When it is said by learning the Vedas and reciting the Vedas, so this particular portion of the mantra indicates the first stage of life, which is the studenthood. In this studenthood, the person has prepared himself. When he becomes a grihastha and a householder, in his householder life, where yajna and dana are predominant, living a righteous shastriya life of doing the various rituals, giving away charities, this is the main part of the grihastha's life. And therefore that yajna and dana, these words indicate the second phase of life. Tapa and anashaka, where the austerities and fasting, etc., penance, fasting, all these things, tapa and anashaka, are the principal activities of the vanaprastha. And therefore, whether the person is in the brahmacharya or as a householder or as a vanaprastha, in all the three phases, the person has prepared himself. And therefore, this journey is indeed a patiently undertaken journey. It is not that suddenly someone's whim and fancy, but if one finds that in this life the person has taken to sannyas at a very young age, then we will have to infer that if you do not see the preparation being done in this life, that means it was already done in the previous life. Okay? Nah, that's why iha janmani janmantareva. That is why we find that somebody like Ramana Maharshi suddenly lives and goes. But that is not sudden. It is not sudden. Iha janmani janmantareva samyak anushchitaihi Vedanuvachanadihi utpannaya vividishaya. Thus that vividisha, now that fire is lit, and that fire is not a small teeny-weeny flame, it is conflagration. Vividishaya sampaditatva. This sannyas is accomplished because of this desire. Which is, how is this desire? Fueled by the earlier preparation. And therefore, this sannyasa is called as Vividisha sannyasa. Vividishaya sampaditatvad ayam Vividisha sannyasa iti abhidhiyate. Abhidhiyate likha hai dhiyate. Okay. Ayancha Vedana Hetu Sannyaso Vividra Janma Padaka Kamya Karmari Jadamatratmakam Praishocharanapurvaka Dandadharanadi Ashramarupascha Iti. Now this Vividisha sannyasa also furthermore is twofold. Okay? Ayancha Vedana Hetu sannyasa. This sannyasa, whose hetu, the cause of this sannyasa. So now we are very clear, the cause of this sannyasa is not some very flimsy reason. You know, generally in this Hindi cinemas and all, they will show that some person, because he has had a, heartbreak or something, he takes to sannyas and goes away. And then that is how the film ends. That, this girl gets married to somebody, and then therefore this man goes and takes to sannyas, and then he is shown walking away from the human settlement. This sannyasi, it cannot be such a flimsy reason. No. Now our question to such filmmakers would also be, if a person takes to sannyasa because his girlfriend got married to somebody else, by him taking to sannyasa, will she come back? What is the reason for which he is taking sannyas? What would happen to him or to her by him taking to sannyasa? What is achieved? So all such things have got no meaning. They have absolutely no meaning. and these kind of films become inspiration to some people. They definitely are misleading. Anyway, so we say, Ayam cha vedana hetu sannyasa. The sannyasa whose hetu means the cause is one, the pursuit of knowledge. Vedana hetu sannyasa dvividha. That also is twofold. Now you see we are going into, that's why I said in the beginning that you should draw a flow chart. Dvividha. Janmapadaka kamya karmadi tyaga matratmakaha. The first one is where a person gives up all the kamya karma. Okay? Kamya karma. We are aware that the karma is of four types. Nitya naimittika karma, kamya karma, prayaschitta karma, and nishiddha karma. Nitya naimittika karma means those duties which are obligatory. They are obligatory. They are nitya naimittika karma. Then the second one is kamya karma. Kamya means a person will do those karmas only if he has a desire. Because those karmas happen to fulfill certain desires, you will do that only if you have desire for that. And therefore, they are called as kamya karma. The third one is the nishiddha karma. Nishiddha means that which is prohibited by the scriptures, prohibited by through the words don't do, should not be done. So they indicate an prohibited action. But say suppose if a person inadvertently does something that is wrong, then is there any way by which he can amend it? Is there any way through which he can have some repair? And so the action of atonement is called as prayaschitta. It is a repairment. Prayaschitta karma. So kamya karma tyaga. So by giving up all the kamya karma, this kamya karma, what happens to this kamya karma? That it becomes the reason for future births. Janmapadaka kamya karma. So this kamya karma becomes the very cause of future births. And therefore, Janmapadaka kamya karmadi tyagamatratmaka. One type of sannyasa is where the person continues to be in the same ashrama. If he is a grihastha, he continues to be a grihastha. But now he simply gives up not all the karmas, only the kamya karma, and continues doing the nitya naimittika karma. So the teacher over here, Vidyaranya Swami says, even this is also a type of sannyas. By doing your own duties as a grihastha, not initiating any kamya karma is also living a life of sannyas. Ha, kamya karmadi tyagamatratmakaha is one type. Then what is the other one? Praishocharana purvaka. Praisha mantras are the mantras which are chanted to as a part of as a part of getting initiated in sannyasa. These praisha mantras generally are not chanted in presence of a grihastha. So a sannyasi is supposed to chant it every day as well as the time of at the time of sannyasa. He does that. So by chanting the Praishocharana Purvaka, so sannyasa, which is taken by properly undergoing all the steps of, of the life of renunciation, which begins with chanting of Praisha mantras. So Praishocharana Purvaka Dandadharanadi, by holding a staff, a lion cloth, etc. All these things are given to the sannyasi. So Dandadharanadi Ashrama Rupascha, which is the person still becomes a part of the social structure, which is an ashram. Okay, Praishocharana Purvaka Dandadharanadi Ashrama Rupascha. And then he quotes one shloka. Om Janma Labhate Mata Padni Cha Praishamatratah Brahmanistha Sushidascha Yani Chaitat Prabhavatah. Says that when a person takes to sannyasa, that means that he renounces his, his house, his home, his people, and the two people who are extremely close in relationships are his mother and the wife. What happens to them? What would be their future? Already over here in this life, the person has to look after their welfare. That is going to be a very important part. You know, when Shankaracharya took to sannyas, he was just 8 years old. And then his mother had become old. Already she was aging because he was a child that was born to the couple quite late in life. So by the time he himself was 8 years, his mother already had started showing the signs of certain deterioration, but not very much still, but could not be said as, in her prime and very strong, etc. So now his father had passed away, and this was the only child. Now it was his responsibility as the son to look after the welfare and care of his mother. Now comes the welfare is of two kinds. One of this world and of the next life too. He has to take care of both. So he called all his relatives and he told them that I have no claim on this property, the fields, the rice paddy fields, etc. You can take it all with only one condition, that my mother will be looked after. So her life should not become miserable because there is nobody to look after, no medicines or food, or is being ignored. This is not what should happen as long as she lives. And with this condition, he gave away all that belonged to his ancestral property, etc., to to the people around. So the welfare of his mother, of this very life, in this life, was taken care of. But sir, what about next life? And this is what is said. Janma labhate mata, that she will attain a next birth, that mother, his wife will be having such birth in which they will also be able to pursue the path of liberation. Janma labhate mata patni cha praisha matratah brahmanistha sushila. And what happens to him, to that person who takes to sannyasa? Brahmanistha sushilascha. The one who does the praisha mantra, the sannyasi who does the praisha mantra daily, he gains brahmanistha. He gains, he gains what? He attains brahmanistha, means he gets firmly established in Brahman. Sushilascha. The second part that happens to the person is that he will have a shining character. Sushilascha. Jnani Chayeta Prabhavatah. And then the third thing will be he will acquire the knowledge. So knowledge, character, and finally the Brahmanistha, firmly established in Brahman. This is what one gets through the Praisha mantra. So we have the Vividisha sannyasa is also further of two types. One in which the grahastha, the householder, gives up the kamya karma, and the other type is where one takes to renunciation through the proper way of chanting Praisha mantras, etc. Janma labhate mata patni cha praishamatratah brahmanistha sushilascha jnani chaitat prabhavatah. This is what happens through the Vividisha sannyasa. Furthermore, he says, Tyagascha Taitariyadau Shruyate Na karmana na prajaya dhanena Tyage naike amritatvamana Yeti. In the Taitariya Aranyaka, this is not a Taittiriya Upanishad mantra, it is Taittiriya Aranyaka. Na karmana na prajaya dhanena tyage neke amritatvam anashu. Okay. It said it is not through any karma, not by begetting progeny, not by amassing wealth, but it is through tyaga, it is through renunciation that the nectar of immortality is attained. This is what is said. Iti. अस्मिश्च त्यागे स्त्रियोऽपि अधिक्रियन्ते. Now, in this Vividisha sannyasa, even the women are entitled to this sannyasa. Which sannyasa? Vividisha. Even women are allowed, are entitled to this sannyasa. Asvinshcha tyage striyopi adhikriyante. Because in the earlier days, even in Buddhism, women were not allowed. Introduction of women as sannyasis in the Jain sect also seems to be a later development. But over here, we find Vidyaranya Swami saying that Asmenishta, so in the Vedic system of sannyasa, where there is Vividisha sannyasa, in this even women are also allowed. He establishes this by giving some more explanation. Bhikshuki iti anena स्त्रीणामपि प्राग्विवाहात्वा वैधव्यात् ऊर्ध्वं वा सन्न्यासे अधिकारः इति दर्शितम्. Okay. The word, there is a word called as bhikshuki. Bhikshuka means a mendicant, a sannyasi who asks for alms. He is called as bhikshuka. Now, there is a feminine word which is bhikshuki. Now, for whom will it be applicable? So there has to be a woman who can be called as Bhikshuki. To her only this word will become applicable. So we have Bhikshuki iti anena strinamapi. Even these women, which women are you now talking about? So we find that two types. Strinamapi pragvivahat. Those who before take, who who are not married or who before they get married, before marriage, prag vivaha. But what now if they are married? Now after the marriage, when you have your household to look after the children, etc., a man may walk out, but that woman as a mother figure is extremely important. And that is the reason why we find that even before the Veda says that, respect your father as God, says respect your mother as God. The first command is Matru Devo Bhava. Respect your mother as God is the first. So this is very, very important, and therefore prag vivahadva vaidhavyad urdhvava, after the husband etc. passes away, if he does passes away, vaidhavyad urdhvam va. So there are two conditions where the women can take to sannyasa. Basically, we require to fulfill the condition that there should be vividisha. Besides Vividisha, if she is already now married, now let her take to the sannyasa of the first kind by giving up kamya karma, living a pious life of doing the nitya naimittika duties, etc., and then following satsanga, listening to Vedanta, etc. All those things can be there. Prag vivahadva vaidhavyat urdhvam va sannyase adhikaraha asti. Then iti darshitam. Now, okay, now she may take to sannyasa such a person. Now, what happens by then? Because of that, tena bhikshacharyam moksha shastra shravanam ekante atmadhyanam cha tabhih kartavyam. By that, we come to know that such a lady, such a woman, then she can go do diksha. Okay? Dikshacharyam. Go and ask for alms. And moksha shastra shravanam. Such a person should do, such a lady, what should she do? Moksha shastra shravanam. She should give herself to Shravana of Vedanta. Moksha Shastra Shravana. Then Ekante Atmadhyanam. And all by herself she should meditate on the reality that Atma is. Atmadhyanam cha tyahi kartavyam. Such women who are now Ikshukis, who are sannyasis, this is what they should do. Kartavyam. Tridandadikam cha haryam iti moksham dharme chaturdharitikayam sulabha janaka samvade. Then she can also hold the staff, which is made of 3 bamboos. Tridanda, Ikidharyam. Where have you found this kind of a reference, sir? And he said, this is where we find in Chaturdhari Tika, in the portion called Moksha Dharma. Where do you find it? There is a dialogue between the king Janaka and an enlightened lady sage whose name is Sulabha. Sulabha Janaka Samvade, in the dialogue between Sulabha and Janaka, we find reference to this, that there is this provision where even women also can take to sannyasa. Which sannyasa? Vividisha sannyasa. This is what we are presently discussing. So over here we have discussed few things about Vividisha sannyasa. Now, in the little furthermore, the teacher Vidyaranya Swami still gives us a little more information about and justifying, yes, there is a provision for women, for men, for all of us to take to sannyasa called as the Vividisha sannyasa. Now, we will see that a little, some few more things when we meet tomorrow again. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om शांति 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 शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः।